The heart monitor's green line went flat. Half a second of silence that felt like the floor dropping out from under the world. I don't move. My hand stays exactly where it is, over hers. Over Isra Virex's pale, cold fingers resting on starched hospital sheets that probably cost more than my monthly rent used to. The antiseptic smell burns my throat, but I've gotten used to it. 3 months of sneaking into this private wing will do that.
The monitor beeps again. Her heartbeat returns. Fragile, but there. I exhale through my nose and keep singing under my breath. The same melody I've hummed every night since I started coming here. The one nobody else knows I know. Then the door slams open. Kaelor Virex doesn't walk into rooms. He detonates them. 6'3" of control violence, wrapped in a black suit that's been tailored to hide the shoulder holster I know he's wearing. His security detail fans out behind him like shadows, but he raises one hand and they freeze in the hallway. He looks at the monitors first. Always the data. Always the numbers before the people. Then his eyes find me.
I watch something flicker across his face. Not recognition, we're past that. Something colder. Confusion sharpening into suspicion. Why are you here? For words. Delivered like a coroner identifying a body. I could tell him the truth. That I've been here every day for 93 days straight. That the nurses know my coffee order. That his mother's vitals spike every time I miss a visit. That when she's barely conscious, she squeezes my hand and whispers a name that isn't mine anymore. Instead, I straighten in the chair but don't let go of her hand. She needed someone. His jaw tightens. The muscle along his cheekbone jumps the way it used to when he was deciding whether to buy a company or bury it. Hi viewers. Have you ever had to care for someone who forgot they once loved you? Drop a comment below. The city outside these windows is the same New York that used to feel like ours. Manhattan at night, all glass and steel and money moving through fiber optic cables. Kaelor built an empire here, converted his father's crumbling crime syndicate into something that looks clean on paper. Shipping logistics, import-export, contracts signed in boardrooms instead of back alleys. But empires need foundations, and his was cracking. Isra's condition started deteriorating 6 weeks after the explosion at the Brooklyn docks. The one that should have killed him. The one that rewrote everything. I wasn't allowed in the ICU then. His aunt made sure of that. Told the doctors I was a security risk. Told Kaelor when he finally woke up that emotional stress could trigger memory collapse. She wasn't entirely wrong. Traumatic brain injuries do strange things to recall. Shake the brain hard enough and whole sections of a life just vanish. The neurologist explained it to me once, back when I still had clearance to ask questions. Retrograde amnesia, he called it. Selective loss of autobiographical memory. What he didn't say. Sometimes the brain chooses what to forget. And Kaelor chose me. Not actively. Not cruelly. He just woke up one morning and looked at me the way you'd look at a stranger who wandered into your hospital room by mistake. I'm sorry, he'd said, voice still rough from the ventilator. Do I know you? 5 words that ended a 3-year bond. I left that night. Walked out of New York Presbyterian with nothing but the clothes I was wearing and a secret I hadn't told anyone yet. 10 weeks later, I found out I was carrying his son. Now Kaelor moves deeper into the room, each step measured. He's analyzing me the way he analyzes quarterly reports, looking for inconsistencies, leverage points, weaknesses. Hospital staff didn't notify me you were cleared for access. I'm contracted, I say simply. Cardiac specialist. When she collapsed last week, I was the only one available. It's mostly true. I did finish my medical certifications. I do consult for the hospital now. What I don't mention is that I requested this wing specifically. That I've been monitoring Isra's charts since the day she was admitted. That I never really left. Kaelor's eyes narrow. He's close enough now that I can smell his cologne. The same cedar and smoke blend he's worn for years. My body recognizes it before my brain can stop the reaction. The bond mark on my neck burns hot beneath my collar. I keep my face blank. He glances at his mother. At the way her fingers curve slightly around mine. At the monitor showing her heart rate. Steady now, almost calm. The director said her vitals improve when you're present. He says it like an accusation. Touch therapy, I reply. It's documented in cardiac recovery literature. Human contact reduces cortisol, stabilizes arrhythmia. You're not family. The word lands like a blade between my ribs. I finally look up. Meet those dark eyes that used to soften when they found me across a room. Now they're all business. All calculation. No. I agree quietly. I'm not. Something shifts in his expression. He tilts his head slightly, the gesture so familiar it hurts. Have we met before? My heart rate spikes. The bond mark pulses against my throat like a second heartbeat. This is the question I've been dreading for 4 years. You have a common face. I lie, voice steady. People probably ask you that a lot. It's a terrible deflection, and we both know it. Kaelor Virex doesn't have a common anything. He's been on the cover of Forbes twice. His face moves markets, but he lets it slide. For now, he pulls out his phone, thumbs moving across the screen. Checking something. His frown deepens. Security logs show you've been visiting since January. My stomach drops. She responds to consistency. I say carefully, I kept the schedule. Under a false name. Not false. Just not the one he gave me. I registered as family because that's what the intake form asked for. And at 3 a.m. with Isra coding on the table, I wasn't thinking about aliases. I was thinking about the woman who once held my face in her hands and said, "Thank you for loving my son the way he needs to be loved." Past tense now. Kaelor's phone buzzes. He glances at it, and for a fraction of a second, his mask slips. I see exhaustion there. The kind that comes from holding up a collapsing sky with nothing but willpower and spite. I need to take this, he says. Don't leave. It's not a request. He steps into the hallway, and I hear his voice drop into that clipped, dangerous tone he uses when someone's about to lose everything. I turn back to Isra. Her eyes are closed, but her breathing has evened out. I adjust the blanket around her shoulders and lean close. You're not allowed to leave yet, I whisper. He still needs you. Even if he doesn't remember why. The door opens again. But it's not Kaelor. It's a child. 4 years old. Dark curls. Eyes the exact shade of brown that used to look at me like I was the only person in the world who mattered. My son freezes in the doorway, staring at the man in the hallway whose back is turned. Eli's voice is small but certain. Baba. The word slices through everything. Kaelor turns, and the heart monitor flatlines again. Have you ever seen someone's entire world shatter in the space between one heartbeat and the next? The code team crashes through the door 7 seconds later. I'm already moving, pulling Eli back, shielding him from the organized chaos of nurses and equipment and someone shouting about epinephrine. My hands shake as I press his face against my chest, but I keep my voice calm. I sink into one of those terrible hospital chairs that's designed to be just uncomfortable enough to keep you awake, and Eli climbs into my lap. He's gotten so big, 4 years old, and already asking questions I don't know how to answer. Is Grandma Isra going to be okay? My throat closes. He remembers her. Of course he does. I showed him pictures, told him stories, kept her alive in the only way I could. The doctors are taking care of her. I manage. Why was Baba scared of me? Because he doesn't remember you exist. Because the last time he saw your face, you were barely a cluster of cells I hadn't told him about yet. Because the explosion that should have killed him took something more important than memory, it took certainty. He wasn't scared, Eli. He was surprised. But I look like him. You said so. I did say that. Every time Eli studied his reflection in the mirror and traced the dimple in his left cheek. Every time he frowned in concentration and his eyebrows did that same sharp angle Kaelors do. There's no hiding genetics. Footsteps in the hallway. Expensive shoes on linoleum. I know that walk. Kaelor appears in the doorway. He's rolled up his sleeves, and there's a coffee stain on his cuff that wasn't there 10 minutes ago. His eyes find Eli first, then me. She's stable. His voice is flat, professional. They're running additional tests. I nod. Don't trust myself to speak. He steps fully into the room and closes the door behind him. The click of the latch sounds unnaturally loud. For a long moment, nobody moves. Then Eli wriggles out of my lap and takes 3 steps toward this man he's only seen in photographs and news clips. My heart stops. "Are you my Baba?" Eli asks. Direct. Fearless. 4 years old and braver than I'll ever be. Kaelor crouches down slowly, carefully, the way you approach something fragile that might break if you move too fast. "What's your name?" "Elijah Dakari Vale. My last name, not his. But everyone calls me Eli." "How old are you, Eli?" 4. My birthday was last month. We had cake. I watch Kaelor's brain do the math. Watch him count backward. Watch the exact moment the timeline clicks into place. His eyes lift to mine, and I see the question forming. The waiting room TV flickers in the corner. Some morning talk show discussing the upcoming mayoral election. Traffic noise filters up from the street below. The hospital's HVAC system hums. Normal sounds in a moment that's about to detonate. "When were you going to tell me?" Kaelor's voice is quiet. Too quiet. "Tell you what?" Wrong answer. I know it the second the words leave my mouth. His expression doesn't change, but something behind his eyes goes arctic. "That I have a son." "You don't remember having a son," I counter. "You don't remember me. You don't remember any of it. So you just what? Decided I didn't deserve to know." The anger in his voice is justified. I know that, but it still feels like a punch to the sternum. Eli looks between us, confused. I stand up, putting myself between them. "This isn't the place." "Then where? When? How many more years were you planning to keep him hidden?" "Hidden?" The word comes out sharper than I intended. "I brought him to visit your mother. I've been here for 3 months. If you'd bothered to check the visitor logs instead of just the access codes, you would have seen his name. Under Vale, not Virex. He doesn't have your name because you didn't give it to him. You were unconscious and your family made it very clear I wasn't." I stop, catch myself. Eli's watching. Kaelor sees it too. Some of the fury drains from his posture, replaced by something worse. Confusion. He straightens up, running a hand through his hair. It's the first uncontrolled gesture I've seen from him in years. "I don't." He stops, starts again. "The doctors said the amnesia was trauma-induced. Selective loss of personal memory. They said stress could make it worse. It did. Your aunt told them I was a trigger risk." The old bitterness creeps back into my voice. "She said seeing me could cause permanent damage. So I left. And didn't think to reach out later? I tried." The words taste like broken glass. 47 phone calls over 6 months. Every single one blocked. I showed up at your office twice. Security escorted me out both times. I wrote letters that got returned unopened. His jaw clenches. "I never." "I know you didn't. Your aunt made sure of that." Silence. The talk show host laughs about something. A nurse walks past the waiting room door without glancing in. Eli tugs on my sleeve. "Papa? I'm hungry." The old nickname. The one he started using around age 2 when father was too complicated, hits Kaelor like a second explosion. I pull a granola bar from my bag and hand it to Eli, then guide him toward the small play area in the corner. There's a basket of ancient toys and some picture books with torn pages. 5 minutes, baby. Play quietly. He goes because he's learned to read the room better than most adults. When I turn back, Kaelor's staring at his hands. "I woke up in Mount Sinai with 17 broken bones and a head full of static," he says quietly. "They told me I'd been in an explosion, that I was lucky to be alive. My aunt was there, my attorneys, my board members." He looks up. "You weren't. I wasn't allowed to be. Why didn't you fight harder?" The question is so genuinely bewildered that I almost laugh. "Fight what?" "You looked at me like a stranger, Kaelor. The neurologist said forcing memory recovery could cause seizures. Your aunt threatened legal action if I tried to contact you. And I stop. Pregnant. Alone. Terrified. You were what? Trying to survive." His phone buzzes again. He silences it without looking. What do you want? He asks finally. Want? Money? A settlement? What's the ask here? And just like that, the moment shatters. Because of course that's where his mind goes. Everything's a negotiation. Every relationship has a price point. I'm not asking for anything, I say evenly. I came here for your mother, not you. He's my son. Biologically. The word lands like I meant it to, cruel and precise. Kaelor's expression goes blank. The mask slams back into place. I want a paternity test. Fine. And I want access. Scheduled visitation while we work out custody arrangements. My blood goes cold. Custody? He's a Virex. That comes with certain. Don't. My voice cuts through whatever corporate speak he was about to deploy. Don't you dare treat him like an asset to be managed. That's not what That's exactly what you're doing. You don't remember him. You don't know his favorite color or what he's allergic to or that he has nightmares about loud noises because he's inherited your trauma, even though he's never lived through it himself. Kaelor opens his mouth, closes it. Eli calls out from the play corner. Papa, look, a fire truck. I close my eyes. When I open them, Kaelor's watching his son with an expression I can't quite read. He has my eyes, he says softly. And your stubborn streak. Does he know? About me? He knows you're his father. He knows you were hurt and that you forgot things. He knows I catch myself. He knows you're important. Were. What? You said we're hurt. Past tense. Kaelor's looking at me now with that same analytical intensity. But you still visit my mother. Still use present tense when you talk about family. He's too smart. Always has been. Old habits. I deflect. Dr. Chun appears in the doorway before he can push further. Isara's asking for you, she says, looking at me. Then, almost as an afterthought, both of you. We follow her back through corridors that smell like industrial cleaning solution and fear. Isara's awake when we enter. Tubes and wires snake across her chest, but her eyes are clear. She sees Kaelor first, smiles weakly. Then she sees me and starts crying. My boy, she whispers, not to her son, to me. Kaelor's hand tightens on the doorframe. Was that the sound of his entire understanding cracking in half? Isara's tears aren't gentle. They're the kind that come from somewhere deep and old. Somewhere that remembers things the rest of the world has forgotten. Her hand lifts, shaking, tethered to an 4-line, and reaches past Kaelor like he's not even there. Reaching for me. I move before thinking. Cross the room in 4 steps and take her hand, and the heart monitor immediately settles into a steadier rhythm. Dr. Chun notes it on her tablet without comment. Kaelor stands frozen by the door. Soren, Isara breathes. My name sounds like a prayer. You came back. I never left. The words slip out, true in ways that matter more than geography. Her fingers tighten around mine. I told Dakari you'd come. I told her every day. Dakari, my mother's name. The name I gave Eli as a middle name because she died 6 months before he was born and never got to meet the grandson she would have spoiled rotten. Kaelor's voice cuts through. Mom, you need to rest. But Isara's not looking at him. She's looking at me with an expression that's part relief, part desperation. Did you bring him? Did you bring my grandson? The machines beep faster. I glance at Dr. Chun, who gives a microscopic nod. Permission. He's in the waiting room, I tell Isara gently. Do you want to see him? Please. Kaelor's still processing. I can see it in the way he's standing, weight shifted slightly back, arms crossed, jaw tight. His whole world is realigning and he doesn't know where he fits in the new configuration. I squeeze Isara's hand once and step into the hallway. Eli's exactly where I left him, building a tower out of foam blocks. He looks up when I crouch beside him. Grandma Isara wants to say hi. Can you be very gentle with her? He nods solemnly. Takes my hand. We walk back together, and I feel Kaelor's eyes tracking every step. The moment Isara sees Eli, her whole face transforms. Oh, she whispers. Oh, he's beautiful. Eli approaches the bed carefully, the way I've taught him to move around fragile things. He's spent enough time in hospitals, visiting Isra, visiting my clinic patients, that he knows the protocol. Hi, Grandma. His voice is quiet, respectful. Papa said you weren't feeling good. I'm better now. Isra's crying again, but she's smiling. Come here, baby. Let me look at you. Eli climbs onto the chair beside her bed, and she touches his face with trembling fingers. You have your father's eyes. Everyone says that. And your papa's heart. Eli beams. Then, without hesitation, he starts telling her about the fire truck he found in the toy box. About the birthday cake we made last month. About the stray cat that lives behind our apartment building and how we leave food out even though the landlord says we're not supposed to. Normal things. Small things. The kind of details that build a life. Isra listens like every word is sacred. And Kaelor watches from the doorway like he's witnessing something he can't quite name. After 10 minutes, Dr. Chun gently suggests Isra needs rest. Eli kisses her cheek, carefully, avoiding the tubes, and hops down. I'll come back tomorrow, he announces. I'll bring my drawings. I'd like that very much. I guide Eli toward the door, but Kaelor doesn't move. Can I talk to you? He's looking at me. Privately. My stomach knots. Eli, there's a staff lounge 2 doors down. Dr. Chun interjects smoothly. I can sit with him for a few minutes. Eli looks up at me, uncertain. It's okay, baby. Dr. Chun has good snacks. Better than yours, she confirms with a wink. Eli considers this. Okay. But only 10 minutes. We have to get home before dark. Before dark. Like we're refugees fleeing occupied territory. Maybe we are. I follow Kaelor down the hallway to a small room with vending machines and outdated magazines. He closes the door and leans against it. For a long moment, neither of us speaks. Then, my mother remembers you. Yes. She remembers him. Yes. She's been asking for you. For months. It's not a question, but there's accusation underneath. I visit when I can, I say carefully. Usually when you're not here. Why? Because seeing you is... I stop. Regroup. Complicated. Complicated. He repeats the word like he's tasting it. For years. A child. My mother's entire recovery structured around someone I don't remember. That's your definition of complicated. What do you want me to say, Kaelor? That I should have fought harder? That I should have ignored the restraining order your aunt filed? That I should have shown up at board meetings with a newborn and demanded you remember loving me? His eyes flash. There was a restraining order? Damn, I wasn't supposed to mention that. Your aunt was very thorough, I say quietly. He pulls out his phone, starts typing. What was the case number? I don't remember. Liar. But there's no heat in it. Just certainty. You remember everything. It's why you're a good doctor. Fair point. Case number RO 2021-47839. Filed 3 weeks after the explosion. Dropped 6 months later when I stopped trying to make contact. More typing. His jaw gets tighter with every search result. She told me you'd moved to California. I moved to Brooklyn. She said you'd taken a settlement. There was no settlement. She said you wanted nothing to do with the family. I wanted nothing to do with being erased. His phone clatters onto the table. The vending machine hums. Fluorescent lights flicker. I don't remember you, Kaelor says finally. I don't remember what we were. But my mother does. My son does. And apparently half my security team has been watching you visit for 3 months without telling me. They were following her orders. Whose orders? Your aunt's. She's still on the board. Still controls hospital access protocols through the family trust. He goes very still. Vivian approved your contractor clearance personally. Did she? Understanding dawns slowly, then all at once. She wanted me to find you, he says. Wanted this exact confrontation. Probably. Why? Because you're stronger when you're isolated. Easier to control. And a Virex heir complicates the succession plan she's been building since your father died. Kaelor's quiet for a long time. Then he laughs. It's a bitter, hollow sound that doesn't touch his eyes. I really don't remember you, he says. But you clearly remember how this family works. Hard to forget. He moves to the window, looks out at the city lights spreading across Manhattan like circuit boards. Tell me something true, he says without turning around. Something I should know. What does truth even look like when someone's forgotten the context? You hate cilantro, I offer. You pretend to like it in business dinners because your father told you weakness is anything you won't eat. But you pick it out when no one's watching. His shoulders tense. You grind your teeth when you're thinking through a problem. You've cracked 2 molars that way. You're supposed to wear a night guard, but you never do because you think it makes you look weak. He turns slightly. And every year on August 14th, you get drunk alone in your office because that's the day your father died, and you've never let yourself grieve properly because grief is just another form of weakness. Silence. How do you know that? Because I was there. For 3 years. I was there for all of it. Were we? He stops. Starts again. What were we? Bonded. Mated. Married in everything but the legal paperwork you kept saying we'd file eventually. We were together, I say instead. Until we weren't. And Eli was conceived 2 weeks before the explosion. I found out the day your aunt banned me from the hospital. He processes this. So you were going to tell me. I was waiting for the right moment. Turns out there wasn't one. His phone buzzes. He ignores it. I want to know him, Kaelor says. My son. I need to understand what I lost. You can't get it back. I know. And I won't let you treat him like a business acquisition. I wouldn't. Your aunt will. That stops him cold. Because we both know it's true. Vivian Virex sees people as assets or liabilities. Nothing in between. And a 4-year-old heir with muddy shoes and gap-toothed smiles doesn't fit neatly into either category. I'll handle Vivian, Kaelor says. How? I don't know yet. At least he's honest. My phone timer goes off. 10 minutes. I need to get Eli home. Where's home? I hesitate. I'm not asking for an address, he clarifies. Just, is it safe? Is he safe? We're fine. That's not what I asked. It's the answer you're getting. I move toward the door, but he doesn't step aside. This conversation isn't over. It is for tonight. Soren, let me pass, Kaelor. For a second, I think he's going to argue. Then he moves and I slip into the hallway. Dr. Chen's in the lounge with Eli, who's demolishing a pack of graham crackers and explaining his theory about why fire trucks should be purple instead of red. All set? She asks me. Yeah, thanks. Eli jumps up, crumbs on his shirt. Can we get pizza? Maybe. That means yes. I take his hand and we head for the elevator. Behind us, I hear Kaelor's voice. Soren. I don't turn around. I'm going to fix this. The elevator doors close before I can respond. Eli looks up at me in the descending car. Is Baba coming home with us? How do I explain that home is a concept his father doesn't remember? Not tonight, baby. But soon. Maybe. He accepts this with the fluid certainty of a 4-year-old who still believes in maybes. We exit onto the street. Night air hits my face, carrying exhaust and distant sirens and the particular smell of New York in early spring. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. We need to talk. KV. I delete it. Eli chatters about fire trucks and grandmas and whether pizza counts as a vegetable if it has peppers on it. Normal things. Small things. The kind of details that build a life. Behind us, Isra's hospital room glows against the skyline. And somewhere in that building, Kaelor Virex is probably reviewing security footage, pulling case files, and systematically dismantling every lie his aunt has built. But that's tomorrow's problem. Tonight, I have a 4-year-old to feed and a bond mark that won't stop burning and a question I can't answer. What happens when the person you loved forgets you existed, but their body still remembers? The clinic smells like disinfectant and cheap coffee. I'm 3 hours into a double shift when my phone rings. Eli's daycare. My stomach drops before I even answer. Mr. Vale? Eli's fine, but there's been an incident. The word incident does a lot of work. 20 minutes later, I'm in the director's office watching security footage of my 4-year-old punching another kid in the mouth. He's never done anything like this before, Director Morrison says. She's using her concerned administrator voice, the one that means paperwork and potential expulsion. Eli's always been so gentle. On the screen, Eli's standing over a bigger kid. Marcus, 6 years old, should have been moved to the older classroom months ago, with his fists still clenched. What happened before this? Asked. Morrison shifts in her seat. Marcus was teasing him about his family situation. Of course, I drag a hand over my face. Is Marcus okay? Bloody nose. Nothing serious. But his parents are upset. Upset means lawyers. Lawsuits. Exactly what I can't afford right now. Can I talk to Eli? They bring him in. He's got paint on his shirt and guilt written across his whole face. But his chin's up. Defiant. Morrison leaves us alone. Want to tell me what happened? I keep my voice neutral. Eli picks at a loose thread on his sleeve. Marcus said I don't have a real family. And I told him I do. I have you and Grandma. Isra. What did he say to that? Silence. Eli. He said Grandma Isra's dying, and you're not my real papa because we don't have the same last name. My chest tightens. So I hit him. Hitting's not. I know. His voice cracks. I know it's wrong. But he wouldn't stop and I got mad and tears now. Real ones. Is Grandma Isra dying? I pull him onto my lap. He's getting too big for this, but I don't care. Grandma Isra is very sick, I say carefully. The doctors are doing everything they can. But is she going to die? How do you explain mortality to a 4-year-old who's already lost more than most adults? Everybody dies eventually, baby. But we're not there yet. We're still fighting. He buries his face in my shoulder. I don't want her to die. I know. And I don't want Marcus to be right about you not being my real papa. I am your real papa. Biology doesn't matter. Love does. Then why doesn't Baba live with us? Because he doesn't remember us. Because his aunt orchestrated our separation. Because sometimes love isn't enough to overcome traumatic brain injuries and family politics. It's complicated, Eli. You always say that. Because it's always true. He pulls back, wiping his nose on his sleeve. Am I in trouble? Yes. Big trouble. We'll see. Morrison returns with paperwork. 3-day suspension. Mandatory parent-teacher conference. A strongly worded letter about conflict resolution. I sign everything. We're halfway to the car when my phone rings again. This time it's Dr. Chun. Isra's asking for you. She's agitated. Won't settle. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Bring Eli if you can. She keeps asking about her grandson. The hospital's busy when we arrive. Visiting hours technically ended 20 minutes ago, but the security guard, Jerome, who's seen me often enough to remember my face, waves us through. Isra's room is dim. Monitors beep softly. She's awake but fading, the way she gets in the evenings when pain medication makes everything fuzzy. Soren. Her voice is thread thin. You brought him. Eli climbs carefully onto the chair beside her bed. Hi, Grandma. I got in trouble today. Her eyes crinkle. What did you do? Punched a kid. He deserved it, I hope. He was being mean. Then he definitely deserved it. She winks and Eli giggles. I should probably discourage this conversation, but I'm too tired. Isra's hand finds mine. Have you told him yet? Told him what? About the bond. About what you are to each other. My blood goes cold. Isra. He needs to know, Soren. Before it's too late. There's nothing to know. It's over. Bonds don't end just because someone forgets. She's right. I know she's right. The mark on my neck proves it. Still burns, still aches, still reacts every time Kaelor's within 100 feet. But admitting that feels like surrendering to something I can't control. He doesn't remember, I say quietly. His body does. That's not enough, isn't it? Before I can answer, the door opens. Kaelor walks in looking like he just came from a board meeting. Suit jacket gone, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. He sees me, sees Eli, and stops. I didn't know you'd be here. Your mother asked for us. Isra's eyes move between us, sharp despite the medication. Both my boys, she murmurs. Finally, Kaelor crosses to her other side, kisses her forehead. How are you feeling, Mom? Better now. Eli waves shyly. Hi, Baba. Hi, Eli. Kaelor's voice softens in a way I haven't heard in years. What are you doing here so late? Grandma Isra needed us. She did, huh? Yep. And I told her about punching Marcus. Kaelor's eyebrows rise. You punched someone? He was being mean about my family. Ah. Kaelor glances at me. I shrug. Isra's monitor beeps faster. Dr. Chun slips in, checks the readings, adjusts something in the 4-line. You need rest, she tells Isra firmly. I need my family. They'll come back tomorrow. Will they? Isra's looking at Kaelor now. Or will you keep running from them? The room goes still. Mom, you think I don't notice? You think I don't see the way you look at him? Her breathing's getting labored. Like you're trying to solve a puzzle you've forgotten the shape of. You need to calm down, Dr. Chen warns. But Isra's not done. He wore your ring for 3 years, Kaelor. Right there. She points at my left hand with a shaking finger. I instinctively curl my fingers closed. But it's too late. Kaelor's seen the pale band of skin where a ring used to sit. He sang to you when you couldn't sleep, Isra continues. Learned to make your coffee exactly right. Sat through every boring business dinner without complaint. Loved you when you didn't think you deserved it. Isra, please. I try to interject. And you loved him back. So much it terrified you. The monitors scream. Dr. Chun hits the call button. Within seconds, the room floods with nurses. I grab Eli and move toward the door, but Kaelor catches my arm. Don't go. She needs space. I need answers. His grip isn't hard, but it's certain. The medical team stabilizes Isra. Dr. Chun shoots me a look that clearly says we'll talk later, then ushers everyone out except the necessary staff. Kaelor still hasn't let go of my arm. There's a family room down the hall, I tell him. We can wait there. He follows me in silence. The room's empty, just worn furniture and a TV playing muted news. I settle Eli on the couch with my phone and a pair of headphones. 10 minutes of cartoons, I tell him. Then we're going home. He nods, already absorbed. Kaelor's standing by the window, hands in his pockets, shoulders tight. My mother's not subtle, he says finally. No. Is she telling the truth? About us, the ring, all of it. I lean against the wall. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask. I'm asking now. Where do I even start? We met 4 years ago. You were expanding into new shipping routes, needed someone who understood harbor politics. My family had connections. It was supposed to be a business arrangement. But it wasn't. No, it wasn't. He turns to face me fully. What was it? You really want to know? Yes. I take a breath. You showed up at my family's restaurant at 2 in the morning after a deal went wrong. Sat at the bar and ordered whiskey you didn't drink. I was covering the late shift because my brother called in sick. You looked. I pause, remembering. Lost. Angry. Like you were holding up the world with nothing but spite. His jaw tightens. I brought you coffee instead of whiskey. You asked why. I said because you didn't actually want to get drunk. You wanted someone to tell you it was okay to be tired. What did I say? Nothing. You just stared at me for about 30 seconds. Then you asked if I believed in fate. Do you? I told you I believed in choice. That fate gives you the cards, but you decide how to play them. He's quiet. You came back the next night. And the night after that. By week 3, you'd bought the restaurant. I what? Bought the whole building. Claimed it was a real estate investment. But you kept showing up, kept talking to me, and one night you asked if I wanted to see something beautiful. Did you? You took me to the harbor at dawn, showed me the shipping routes from the roof of your warehouse, explained how cargo moved through the city like blood through veins. I smiled despite myself. It was the nerdiest, most romantic thing anyone's ever done for me. Kaelor's expression is unreadable. 2 months later, you asked if I wanted to make it official. I said yes. We bonded 3 days after that. Bonded. The mark. On my neck. I touched the spot, and his eyes follow the movement. Omega Alpha bonds. You were Alpha. I'm Omega. It's biological. Permanent. Understanding dawns slowly. That's why my mother's vitals stabilize around you. Bonded pairs affect each other's physiology. It's documented but not well understood. And that's why he stops. Why you stayed. Even after I forgot. Your mother needed me. Just her. The question hangs between us. Before I can answer, Eli calls out, "Papa, the battery's dying." I cross to him, plug the phone into a wall charger. 5 more minutes. Then we really need to go. When I turn back, Kaelor's closer. Too close. I can smell his cologne. See the fine lines around his eyes that weren't there 4 years ago. If we were bonded, he says quietly. If we were together. Why didn't you fight harder when they pushed you out? Because you looked at me like I was a stranger, Kaelor, and I couldn't watch you not remember loving me. It would have destroyed us both. His hand lifts, hovering near my face but not quite touching. Do you still? The door bangs open. A woman in a designer suit and perfect makeup strides in like she owns the building. Probably because legally she does. Billionaire Virex. Her eyes land on Eli first, then me, then her nephew. So, she says pleasantly, this is where you've been hiding. Does confrontation always arrive right when you think you might finally get answers? Billionaire Virex doesn't do entrances halfway. She sweeps into the family room trailing expensive perfume and the kind of cold authority that comes from 40 years of manipulating corporate boards. Her suit probably costs more than my monthly rent. Her jewelry could fund a small hospital wing. She looks at Eli like he's a stain on expensive upholstery. Kaelor, she says smoothly, ignoring me completely. We need to discuss the quarterly reports. Your presence is required at... Her eyes finally land on me. Oh, you're still here. Aunt Vivian. Kaelor's voice carries a warning. Not now. Actually, now is perfect. She pulls out her phone, taps something. I've just sent security footage to your email. Very interesting viewing. My stomach drops. Kaelor checks his phone. His expression goes carefully blank as he watches whatever she sent. 3 months of unauthorized visits. Vivian continues. Using a false identity. Accessing restricted areas. And bringing a minor child into a critical care unit without proper clearance. He's family, I say evenly. Her smile could cut glass. Is he? Last I checked, Virex custody agreements require paternity confirmation before any child can claim family status. Kaelor's jaw tightens. We've already discussed the paternity test. Discussed. Not completed. Vivian turns to him fully now, dismissing me again. Which means legally, this person has been exploiting your mother's condition for personal gain. I could have him arrested for... Try it. Kaelor's voice drops to a register I recognize. The one he uses right before someone loses everything. Try it and see what happens. Vivian pauses. Recalculates. I'm protecting you, Kaelor, as I've always done. This person, she waves vaguely in my direction, has an agenda. A child appears conveniently when Isra's health declines, when succession planning is in flux. His name is Soren, Kaelor says quietly, and our son's name is Elijah. The word "our" lands like a detonation. Vivian's composure cracks slightly. You can't possibly. I've reviewed the restraining order you filed, the blocked communications, the hospital access restrictions. Each word is measured, deliberate. I've also reviewed the family trust amendments you pushed through while I was in recovery. Her face goes very still. Amendments that would have given you controlling interest if I died without a direct heir. Interesting timing. That was standard estate planning. It was attempted usurpation. Kaelor steps between her and where I'm standing with Eli. And it ends now. The room temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. Vivian's eyes narrow. You don't remember him. You don't remember any of it. How do you know he's not feeding you a convenient story? Because my mother remembers. Because his medical credentials check out. Because he stops. Because when he's in the room, something feels less broken. I stop breathing. Vivian looks like she's swallowed poison. Sentiment is not strategy, Kaelor. You were raised better than this. I was raised by my father to value power over everything else. Look how that turned out. She flinches. Kaelor pulls out his phone again. Makes a call. Martin, I need you to draft 3 documents. Restraining order against Vivian Virex. Removal from hospital access protocols. And full audit of trust amendments filed between October 2021 and March 2022. He pauses. Tonight, I'll email you the specifics. He ends the call. Vivian's composed mask is fully shattered now. You're making a mistake. Probably, but it's my mistake to make. He'll destroy everything you've built. You mean everything you've controlled? She looks at me, then really looks at me, and I see something flicker in her expression. Not regret. Calculation. This isn't over, she says softly. Yes, Kaelor replies. It is. She turns on her heel and leaves. The silence she leaves behind feels fragile. Eli tugs my sleeve. Papa? Was that lady mean? Very mean, baby. Is Baba going to make her go away? I look at Kaelor. He's staring at the door like he's still processing what just happened. I don't know, I tell Eli honestly. Kaelor's phone buzzes. He silences it. Then again. And again. You should probably answer those, I say. They can wait. Can they? He looks at me. My entire board is about to explode. My aunt just declared war. And I just burned a decade of family politics for. He stops. For what? I don't know yet. But I know it was necessary. My phone buzzes now. Dr. Chun, Isra is stable. You can visit tomorrow. I show Kaelor the message. We should go, I tell him. It's late. Eli needs to sleep. Where are you staying? I hesitate. I'm not asking to control you, he clarifies. I'm asking because my aunt knows you exist now. She knows about Eli. And she's not someone who loses gracefully. He's not wrong. We have an apartment in Brooklyn. Crown Heights. Rent or own? Rent. Security. A deadbolt and a neighbor who's a retired cop. His expression suggests that's woefully insufficient. I can't uproot Eli's entire life because your family's dysfunctional, I say. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking if you'll let me make sure you're safe. Safe how? Security detail. Updated locks. Maybe a different apartment in a building with actual protocols. I can't afford. I can. I don't want your money, Kaelor. It's not about money. It's about making sure my son doesn't become leverage. The way he says my son shouldn't make my chest tight. But it does. Eli yawns hugely. Papa, I'm sleepy. I check the time. Almost 9. Way past bedtime. Okay, baby. Let's go. I gather our things, Eli's jacket, my bag, the half-dead phone. Kaelor walks us to the elevator. I'll have Martin send over security options tomorrow, he says. You don't have to accept anything. But at least look at them. Fine. The elevator arrives. I step in with Eli, press the lobby button. Kaelor holds the door open with one hand. Soren. Yeah. Thank you. For taking care of my mother when I couldn't. The door's close before I can respond. Eli falls asleep in the car. I carry him up 3 flights of stairs to our apartment, navigate the locks one-handed, and tuck him into bed without waking him. Then I sit in the dark living room and try to process the last 6 hours. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. The paternity test can be done tomorrow. Martin will coordinate. KV. Another message. Also sending a car to pick you up at 8 a.m. Non-negotiable. I should be annoyed. I should refuse on principle. Instead, I type back, fine. But I'm bringing coffee. 3 dots appear. Then, I remember how I take it. My heart stops. You do? No. But my mother told me. Black, 2 sugars, cinnamon if available. Perfect recall from someone who supposedly forgot everything. I don't know what to do with that. So I plug my phone in, check that all the locks are secure, and try to sleep. I dream of harbor dawns and whiskey I didn't drink. And when I wake up at 6 a.m. to Eli jumping on my bed, I realize I'm still wearing the shirt that smells faintly of cedar and smoke. How do you rebuild something when only half the people involved remember what it was? The nurse swabs the inside of Eli's cheek at exactly 8:47 in the morning. Kaelor watches from across the examination room like he's memorizing every detail. The way Eli sits perfectly still. The way his small hand grips Soren's fingers. The dimple that appears when the nurse tells him he's been very brave. Results in 48 hours. The nurse says, sealing the sample. Kaelor nods. He already knows what they'll say. Has known since the moment he saw those eyes staring back at him in a hospital hallway. But legal proof matters in his world. The black town car waiting outside has bulletproof windows. Soren notices immediately. Doesn't comment. Just buckles Eli into a car seat that definitely wasn't there yesterday and accepts the coffee Kaelor hands him. You remembered cinnamon, Soren says quietly. I had it added to my standing order this morning. Kaelor doesn't mention he also had his assistant pull every coffee shop receipt from the past 4 years, searching for patterns he can't consciously recall. The drive to Virex Tower takes 20 minutes. Eli presses his face against the window, watching the city scroll past. Kaelor catches himself watching the boy instead of checking emails. You don't have to come up, he tells Soren. I just need to handle some things before the board meeting. What kind of things? The kind that involve removing my aunt from every position of power she currently holds. Soren's quiet for a moment. That'll start a war. War's already started. I'm just choosing which side I'm on. They pull into the underground garage. Security nods them through checkpoints that would stop anyone else. The private elevator rises 60 floors without stopping. Kaelor's office takes up the entire top level. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Minimalist furniture. A desk that cost more than most people's cars. Eli walks straight to the windows. Whoa! You can see the whole city from here, Kaelor says. Something about the statement feels familiar. Like he's said it before to someone who mattered. Soren's standing very still near the door, staring at a corner of the office like he's seeing ghosts. What is it? Kaelor asks. Nothing. Just, we used to have breakfast here sometimes. You'd work. I'd read. Eli would. He stops. Never mind. But Kaelor's already following his gaze to the corner where there's now a filing cabinet. What was there before? A couch. Deep blue. You bought it after I mentioned the chairs were uncomfortable. Kaelor opens his phone. Pulls up archived office photos from 3 years ago. There's the couch. Deep blue velvet. And in one photo, barely visible in the corner of the frame, a person with Soren's exact profile holding a coffee cup, laughing at something off camera. His chest tightens. I had it removed during renovations, he says. Vivian said it looked unprofessional. It was comfortable. I'm starting to realize my aunt's definition of professional meant removing anything that made me human. His assistant knocks. Mr. Virex? The board's assembling. Kaelor looks at Soren. You should stay here. This might get ugly. How ugly? I'm about to accuse my aunt of financial manipulation, medical interference, and attempted fraud. So very. Soren's eyes meet his. Then you definitely need someone watching your back. You don't have to. I know. I'm choosing to. The same words Soren said to him 4 years ago, standing in a harbor at dawn. Kaelor doesn't remember that moment. But somehow his body does. He straightens his tie, checks his reflection. becomes the version of himself that makes grown men nervous. Eli stays here with my assistant, he says. Doors locked. Security outside. Soren nods. They walk to the boardroom together. And when Kaelor pushes open the doors to find Vivian already seated at the head of the table like she owns the company, he realizes something that should terrify him. Having Soren beside him doesn't feel new. Feels like coming home. Did Kaelor just choose his bond over his blood? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens when Vivian fights back. Drop a comment about the biggest sacrifice you've made for family and inspire others with your story. Vivian doesn't stand when they enter. She's dressed like she's attending a funeral. Black suit, pearl earrings, the smile of someone who's already won. 12 board members sit around the table. Most of them helped build the empire with Kaelor's father. They've known him since he was a child playing in these same halls. They're loyal to the Virex name. Question is, which Virex? Gentlemen, Kaelor says, and Mrs. Chun, the only female board member besides Vivian, nods. Thank you for coming on short notice. Your aunt said this was urgent, someone mutters. Something about family concerns? Family concerns. Kaelor almost laughs. Yes, let's discuss those. He moves to the head of the table, doesn't ask Vivian to move. Just stands there until she has no choice but to shift to a regular seat. Small victory, but victories matter. Soren stays near the door, watching, silent. Kaelor pulls up a presentation on the main screen. In October 2021, while I was recovering from the Brooklyn dock explosion, several amendments were made to the Virex Family Trust. The room goes quiet. These amendments restructured succession protocols. Specifically, they would transfer controlling interest to the eldest living board member, my aunt, in the event of my death or incapacitation without a direct heir. Vivian's face remains perfectly neutral. At the time these amendments were filed, I was unconscious. Medical records show I didn't regain full cognitive function until January 2022. 3 months after these documents were signed with my supposed approval. One of the older board members, Gregory, his father's best friend, leans forward. Are you suggesting forgery? I'm stating facts. The signature analysis is in your packets. Papers rustle. Expressions shift. Vivian finally speaks. You were traumatized, Kaelor. The doctors said stress could damage your recovery. I was protecting the company from instability. By positioning yourself to inherit it? By ensuring continuity of leadership. Interesting definition of continuity. Kaelor advances the slide. Here's the communication log from my hospital stay. 47 phone calls from an unknown number. All blocked by order of my medical proxy, also my aunt. More rustling. Emails. Letters. All intercepted. All from the same person. He looks directly at Vivian. Want to guess who? She doesn't answer. Kaelor nods toward Soren. This is Soren Vale, cardiac specialist. And for 3 years before the explosion, my bonded partner. The room erupts. You were bonded? Nobody knew. Why wasn't this disclosed? Kaelor waits for the noise to die down. My aunt filed a restraining order against him 3 weeks after the explosion. Claimed he was a security risk. Had hospital staff remove him from approved visitor lists. And when he tried to make contact, she had every attempt blocked. Gregory's staring at Vivian now. Is this true? I was protecting him, she insists. Omega bonds can be manipulated for financial gain. This person has a name, Kaelor interrupts. And a 4-year-old son. My son. Dead silence. Paternity test results will be available in 48 hours. But genetic testing aside, the timeline is clear. Soren was pregnant when my aunt forced him out. She knew. And she buried it. Mrs. Chun stands up. If this is true, Vivian, you've committed fraud. Medical interference. Possibly kidnapping by proxy. That's absurd. Is it? Kaelor's voice could cut steel. You restructured the trust to benefit yourself. Removed the one person who might produce an heir. and spent 4 years consolidating power while I had no memory of what I'd lost. Vivian's composure finally cracks. You were weak, just like your father when he bonded your mother. Omegas make alphas soft, vulnerable. I was saving you from what? Love? Family? Anything resembling humanity? The word love hangs in the air. Kaelor didn't mean to say it, but now it's out there. Vivian stands. This is a coup based on sentiment and lies. This is a reckoning based on documentation and witnesses. Kaelor looks around the table. I'm calling for an immediate vote. Vivian Virex to be removed from all board positions. Effective today. You can't. I can. And I am. Gregory raises his hand first. Then Mrs. Chen. Then one by one the others. When the count finishes, it's 11-1. Vivian's face goes white. Security will escort you out, Kaelor says quietly. You have 1 hour to clear your office. She looks at him like she's seeing a stranger. Maybe she is. Maybe he's finally becoming someone she doesn't recognize. She walks to the door, pauses beside Soren. This won't last, she whispers. Bonds built on forgotten memories always collapse. Then she's gone. The board disperses in uncomfortable silence. Gregory approaches Kaelor. Your father would be proud. Or horrified. Possibly both. Sounds about right. When the room finally empties, it's just Kaelor and Soren. You didn't have to do that, Soren says. Yes, I did. She's right, though. You don't remember me. You don't remember us. This could all fall apart. Kaelor closes the distance between them. Then we build something new. Something better than memory. Soren's breath catches. And for the first time in 4 years, the bond mark on his neck stops burning. It settles. Warm, right? Like coming home. What happens when the past you forgot crashes into the future you're building? Subscribe and turn on notifications for the next chapter. Comment below. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what's right? Your story might inspire someone today. Eli's asleep on the office couch when they return. Kaelor's assistant, Marcus, efficient and unflappable, has covered him with a suit jacket and left a half-finished coloring book on the table. He asked about 17 questions about shipping logistics, Marcus whispers, then crashed hard. Soren smiles, crosses to the couch and brushes hair off Eli's forehead. Kaelor watches the gesture. It's automatic, tender, the kind of thing you do 1,000 times without thinking. The kind of thing that builds a life. I need to tell you something, Soren says quietly, not looking up. About the bond. Kaelor's chest tightens. Okay. When alphas and omegas bond, it's not just emotional. It's physiological. Your scent changes mine. My presence affects your cortisol levels. We become connected. Chemically. I've read about it. Reading isn't the same as living it. Soren finally looks at him. When you forgot me, the bond didn't break. It just went silent. Like a radio frequency nobody's tuning into anymore. But it's still there. Yes, which means every time you're near me, your body recognizes something your mind doesn't. And it's confusing. Maybe even painful. Kaelor moves closer. It doesn't feel painful. What does it feel like? How does he explain it? The way his pulse steadies when Soren's in the room. The way certain smells trigger fragments of almost memories. The way his body leans toward this person without conscious thought. Familiar, he says finally. Like muscle memory for something I can't consciously recall. Soren's quiet for a long moment. The bond will try to rebuild itself, he says. Your instincts will push you toward me. But instinct isn't choice, Kaelor. I need you to choose this. Choose us. Not because your body remembers, but because you actually want to. And if I can't separate the two, then we have a problem. Fair point. Kaelor's phone buzzes. He ignores it. Tell me something true, he says. Something that matters. Soren considers this. You used to have nightmares. About your father's death. About the night the rival families came for your mother. You'd wake up choking and I'd just hold you until your breathing settled. Never asked questions. Never pushed. Just stayed. Kaelor's throat tightens. One night you told me you were afraid of becoming him. Your father. All power and no softness. You said you didn't know how to be strong without being cruel. What did you say? That strength without compassion isn't strength. It's just damage wearing a nice suit. The accuracy of that statement hits like a physical blow. Do I still have the nightmares? Kaelor asks. I don't know. Do you? Yes. What do you do when you wake up? Work. Usually. Or drive until the sun comes up. Soren's expression softens. You used to let me help. I don't remember how. I know. The office feels too quiet. Too full of things unsaid. Kaelor's phone buzzes again. This time he checks it. Paternity results. Completed early. 99.9% match. Congratulations. Lab. He shows Soren the screen. Fastest turnaround I've ever seen. Soren murmurs. I may have paid extra for priority processing. May have. Definitely did. Something shifts in Soren's expression. Not quite a smile, but close. Kaelor saves the results. Forwards them to his lawyer. Makes a note to update Eli's birth certificate. Add him to insurance. Establish a trust fund. Arrange school transfers to somewhere safer than a daycare where kids punch each other over last names. His brain's already 3 steps ahead. Planning, protecting, providing. The things he knows how to do. You're doing it again, Soren says. Doing what? Treating this like a business problem. Eli's not a merger to manage. I know that. Do you? Because you just mentally reorganized his entire life in under 90 seconds. Kaelor stops. I'm trying to keep him safe. I know. But safety isn't the same as presence. The words hit harder than they should. Before Kaelor can respond, Eli stirs on the couch. Sits up rubbing his eyes. Baba? His voice is sleep rough. Confused. I'm here, Kaelor says automatically. Eli blinks at him. Then at Soren. Are we going home now? The question shouldn't feel loaded. But it does. Because Kaelor doesn't know what home means anymore. The penthouse where he lives alone. The harbor warehouses that built his empire. The hospital room where his mother fights for every breath. Or this, a drowsy child and a person who knows his nightmares and a bond his body remembers even when his mind doesn't. Yeah, baby, Soren says gently. We're going home. Kaelor watches them prepare to leave and realizes he doesn't want them to. Wait, he says. They both turn. Come to dinner. Tomorrow night. Let me try this. Properly. Soren hesitates. Kaelor, please. The word comes out more desperate than he intended. Soren looks at Eli, then back at Kaelor. Okay, he says finally. Tomorrow, but somewhere quiet. Not a business dinner. Not a spectacle. Just us. Us, Kaelor repeats. The word feels like a promise he doesn't remember making, but wants to keep anyway. Can you rebuild love from muscle memory and scattered fragments? Subscribe and hit the notification bell for the next chapter. Drop a comment. What's the bravest thing you've done for a second chance? Share your story and inspire others. The restaurant Kaelor chooses isn't what Soren expected. No private rooms. No business associates hovering. No 5-star reputation or waitlist that requires connections. Just a small Italian place in Brooklyn with checkered tablecloths and breadsticks that arrive warm in paper-lined baskets. You've been here before, Soren says. It's not a question. Kaelor nods. Apparently I proposed to you at table 7. The owner told me when I called for a reservation. Eli's already demolished 2 breadsticks and is working on his 3rd. Mr. Virex used to come every Thursday. The owner, an older woman named Rosa, had said when they arrived. Always ordered the same thing. Always saved room for tiramisu. Then she'd looked at Soren and smiled. And you always stole bites off his plate. Soren hadn't confirmed or denied it. Now they sit at table 7, and Kaelor's watching Soren like he's trying to solve an equation with missing variables. Why here? Soren asks. Why not somewhere you actually remember? Because the places I remember are the ones Vivian approved. And I'm starting to realize her version of my life was very different from the one I actually lived. Fair point. Eli kicks his feet under the table. Papa, can I have spaghetti? May I have spaghetti? Soren corrects gently. May I? Yes, baby. Rosa takes their order. Brings wine for the adults and juice for Eli in a plastic cup with a bendy straw. For a while, it's almost normal. Eli talks about his drawings. About the stray cat. About how Marcus let him sit in Kaelor's office chair and it spins really fast. Kaelor asks questions. Real ones. About favorite colors and whether dinosaurs are cooler than trucks and what Eli wants to be when he grows up. A doctor like Papa, Eli says through a mouthful of pasta. Or maybe a fire truck. You can't be a fire truck, baby. You can drive one. Then I'll drive one. Kaelor smiles. It's small. Genuine. Soren's heart does something complicated. Halfway through dinner, Kaelor's phone rings. He declines the call without looking. It rings again. You can answer, Soren says. It's not important. Kaelor. It's Gregory. Probably calling about transition logistics. It can wait. The phone goes silent. They finish eating. Rosa brings tiramisu with 3 spoons. Eli eats half of it before declaring himself too full for more, and asking if he can look at the fish tank near the entrance. Soren lets him go. Keeps one eye on him while turning back to Kaelor. You're good with him, he says quietly. I'm trying. It shows. Kaelor sets down his fork. I don't know what I'm doing. Any of this. How to be a father. How to... He stops. How to what? How to be with you. Without memory as a foundation. Soren's quiet for a long moment. You want the truth? He asks. Always. I don't know either. For years ago we built something. But that was with a version of you who chose me consciously. This version you're running on instinct and obligation. And I can't. I won't build a life on that. What if I want to choose you now? Do you? Or does your body just recognize something familiar and you're confusing chemistry for connection? Kaelor doesn't have an answer. Across the restaurant, Eli's explaining something to Rosa about the fish. She's nodding seriously like a 4-year-old's marine biology theories make perfect sense. I removed Vivian from the board, Kaelor says. Restructured the trust. Put protections in place. But you're right. I did it because it was strategic. Because it was the logical move. And I need to figure out if I'm capable of doing something just because it feels right. Even if it's not logical. Soren meets his eyes. What feels right? This. You. Him. Kaelor gestures vaguely at the table. Everything Vivian tried to erase. Feelings aren't enough, Kaelor. Then what is? Choice. Action. Showing up even when it's hard. I'm here. You are. Tonight. But what about tomorrow? Next week? When the board needs you and Eli has a nightmare, and I'm working a double shift and nothing's convenient or easy. Kaelor's jaw tightens. You think I'll run. I think you don't remember what it takes to build something with someone. And I think... Soren's voice cracks slightly. I think I can't survive watching you forget me twice. The admission hangs between them. Rosa returns with the check. Kaelor pays without looking at it. They collect Eli, who's now carrying a crayon drawing Rosa made of the fish tank. Outside, the car's waiting. But Kaelor doesn't move toward it. I want to try, he says. I know I don't remember. I know it's not fair to ask you to start over. But I want to try anyway. Soren looks at him for a long time. Okay, he says finally. But we do this my way. No business strategies. No grand gestures. Just showing up. Being present. Letting Eli lead. I can do that. Can you? I don't know. But I want to find out. It's the most honest thing Kaelor said all night. Soren nods slowly. Okay, we'll try. Eli grabs both their hands. Can we go see Grandma Isra tomorrow? If she's feeling strong enough, Soren says. She will be. She always feels better when we visit. The certainty in his voice is absolute. They drive back in comfortable silence. When they reach Soren's apartment, Kaelor walks them to the door. Thank you, he says. for giving me a chance I probably don't deserve. You're Eli's father. You deserve a chance to know him. And you. Soren's hand rests on the door handle. Ask me again in a month, when the novelty's worn off and it's just regular life. Then we'll see. It's not a rejection, but it's not a promise either. Kaelor nods. Fair enough. He waits until they're inside, until the locks click. Then he returns to the car and realizes he's smiling. When was the last time he smiled driving away from something? His phone rings. Gregory again. This time he answers. We need to talk, Gregory says. About Vivian. She's not going quietly. I didn't think she would. She's filed a countersuit, claiming undue influence. Says you've been manipulated by, and I quote, opportunistic Omega interests. Kaelor's grip tightens on the phone. When's the hearing? Next week. Then we'll be ready. He ends the call. Looks back at the apartment building where Soren and Eli are probably getting ready for bed, and makes a choice, not because it's strategic, but because it's right. He calls his lawyer. Martin, I need you to draft something. Full legal recognition for Alpha Virex. My name on the birth certificate. Custody arrangements. And I want Soren listed as legal parent with full rights. No, I don't care what standard. Make it happen. When you choose love over logic, do you win or lose? Subscribe and turn on notifications to see how this battle ends. Comment below. Have you ever had to fight for your family against all odds? Share your story and give others hope. The hospital garden is quiet at dawn. Isra sits in a wheelchair, wrapped in blankets despite the mild morning. She's thinner than she was a month ago. Frilier, but her eyes are clear. Eli's showing her his latest drawings, explaining each one in elaborate detail. Kaelor and Soren stand a few feet away, giving them space. She's stronger today, Soren observes. Because he's here. Kaelor nods toward Eli. Dr. Chun says her vitals improve every time he visits. Something about grandchildren being better medicine than anything pharmaceutical. Your mother's always been stubborn. Runs in the family. They're quiet for a moment. The custody hearing is in 3 days. Vivian's lawyers have filed 17 motions. The media's circling. Board members are choosing sides. It should feel overwhelming. Instead, standing here watching his mother smile at his son, Kaelor feels something he hasn't felt in years. Certainty. I've been doing research, he says, about bonds, about trauma and memory loss. Soren tenses slightly. And apparently there are cases where bonded pairs rebuild connection even without recovered memory. It's rare, difficult, but possible. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want you waiting for me to remember. I want you to know I'm choosing this version. The one we're building now. Soren's quiet. Across the garden, Isra laughs at something Eli said. Your mother asked me something yesterday, Soren says. She asked if I still loved you. Kaelor's breath catches. What did you say? I said I don't know. That the person I loved doesn't exist anymore. But the person you're becoming. He stops. I could love him too, if he stays. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now. But when this gets hard, when Vivian makes things ugly, when the board questions your judgment, when being with me costs you something real, will you still choose us? It's the same question Soren's been asking in a dozen different ways. And Kaelor finally has an answer. 3 weeks ago, I would have said no. I would have chosen power. Legacy. Everything my father taught me mattered. And now I look at him, he gestures toward Eli, and I realize my father was wrong. Legacy isn't buildings and board seats. It's that. A 4-year-old who punches kids for insulting his family. Who knows his grandmother's favorite flowers. Who asks 17 questions about shipping logistics and actually listens to the answers. Soren's eyes are wet. I don't remember our past, Kaelor continues. But I can see our future. And I'm choosing it. I'm choosing you. Both of you. Consequences and all. Kaelor, I know it's not enough. I know you need proof, not words. So I'll show you. Every day. for however long it takes. Before Soren can respond, Eli runs over. Baba, Papa, Grandma says we should take a picture. Isra's holding up her phone with shaking hands. They gather around her wheelchair. Eli in front, Kaelor and Soren on either side. Isra counts down. 3, 2, 1. The camera clicks. When Kaelor sees the photo later, he'll notice details. The way Soren's leaning slightly toward him. The way his hand is resting on Eli's shoulder. The way all three of them are smiling. The way they look like a family. Let's go home, Isra says softly. She's looking at Kaelor. All of you. The word home used to mean his penthouse, his office, places he controlled. Now it means something different, something messier, more complicated, something real. 3 days later, the custody hearing lasts 4 hours. Vivian's lawyers argue manipulation, undue influence, questionable paternity despite genetic proof. Kaelor's team presents documentation, medical records, witness testimony. And when the judge asks Eli in private chambers age appropriately who he wants to live with, the 4-year-old's answer is simple. Both my papas. The ruling comes down in Kaelor's favor. Joint custody, legal recognition, Soren's rights protected. Vivian leaves the courthouse without a word. That night, Kaelor brings them back to the penthouse. Not permanently, not yet, but for dinner, for conversation. For the slow, careful work of building something from foundation up. Eli falls asleep on the couch that used to be in Kaelor's office. The blue one. Comfortable. Soren covers him with a blanket. Kaelor makes coffee. 2 cups. Black, 2 sugars, cinnamon. They stand at the window overlooking the city. I talked to my mother yesterday, Kaelor says. About you. About what we were. What did she say? That I used to stand exactly here, same spot, and you'd come up behind me and I'd relax in a way I never did for anyone else. Soren's quiet. She said you made me remember I was human, not just an alpha, not just a Virex, just Kaelor. Did I? I don't know. I don't remember. He turns to face Soren. But I'd like to find out again. Soren sets down his coffee, steps closer. And for the first time in 4 years, the bond mark on his neck stops aching entirely. It settles. Warm, right? Like recognition deeper than memory. Kaelor reaches up, touches the mark gently. Soren's breath catches. Is this okay? Kaelor asks. Yes. Can I? Yes. The kiss is careful, tentative. Nothing like the passion they probably shared before, but it's theirs. This version. This moment, when they pull apart, Soren's smiling. We'll take it slow, he says. Build it right this time, however long it takes. Across the room, Eli stirs but doesn't wake. Outside, the city spreads below them like circuit boards and possibility. And for the first time since the explosion that took his memory, Kaelor Virex feels like he's exactly where he's supposed to be. Not because his body remembers, but because his heart chose. Months later, Isra asks them about wedding plans. Soren laughs and says they're still figuring out breakfast schedules. But Kaelor catches him looking at rings online when he thinks no one's watching, and realizes some things don't need memory. They just need presence. Choice. Love that shows up even when it's hard. And a 4-year-old who believes in maybes. Which, it turns out, is enough to build everything. The end. Thank you for watching this story of love, loss, and second chances. If this resonated with you, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next inspiring story. Drop a comment below sharing a time you had to rebuild something important from scratch. Your experience could be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. What will you choose when the past is forgotten but the future is still unwritten? Share your thoughts and inspire others. See you in the next story.